it's Nana Diana, and I will be reading you a book today about an animal that you might not have heard of before. And the name of the book is The Three Javelinas. Oh, three little javelinas. Look at the picture of that javelina. That is a member of the pig family that lives in southwestern United States and also in South America. So you might not have seen it before, but it looks like a pig with a lot of hair on it. So let's get started. Once upon a time, way out in the desert, there were three little javelinas. Javelinas are wild, hairy, southwestern cousins of pigs, which you already know. Their heads were hairy, their backs were hairy, and their bony legs, all the way down to their hard little hooves, were very hairy, but their snouts were soft and pink. One day, the three little javelinas trotted away to seek their fortunes. In this hot, dry land, the sky was almost always blue. Steep purple mountains looked down on the desert where the cactus forests grew. Soon the little javelinas came to a spot where the path divided, and each one went a different way. And here they are at the beginning of their journey. And now they are going to split up. It looks like two of them are boy javelinas, and the third one looks like a little girl javelina. But we don't know. No gender specifics here. The first little javelina wandered lazily along. He didn't see a dust storm whirling across the desert until it caught him. The whirlwind blew away and left the first little javelina sitting in a heap of tumbleweeds. Brushing himself off, he said, I'll build a house with them. And in no time at all, he did. And if you've ever lived in the desert, you've seen what a tumbleweed looks like. That's the dust devil right there. And sometimes we see those. And here he has built a little house out of tumbleweeds. And he has a TV antenna. And his address is number 1 Tumbleweed Avenue. Then along came a coyote. He ran through the desert so quickly and so quietly that he was almost invisible. In fact, this was only one of Coyote's many magical tricks. He laughed when he saw the tumbleweed house and smelled the javelina inside. A tender, juicy piggy, he thought. Coyote was tired of eating mice and rabbits. So here he is. He snuck along, and he is a magic coyote. And he is in the mood to eat some javelina for dinner. He called out sweetly, little pig, let me come in. Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin, shouted the first javelina, who had a lot of hair on his chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in, said the coyote. And he huffed and he puffed and he blew the little tumbleweed house away. But in all of the hullabaloo, the first little javelina escaped and went looking for his brother and sister. Coyote, who was very sneaky, tiptoed along behind. Here, you can see the coyote huffing and puffing. And look what has happened to the tumbleweed house. Didn't last very long, but our little javelina has got away. The second little javelina walked for miles among giant cactus plants called saguaros. They held the ripe red fruit high in the sky, but they made almost no shade, and the little javelina grew hot. Then he came upon a Native American woman who was gathering sticks from inside a dried-up cactus. She planned to use these long sticks called saguaro ribs to knock down the sweet cactus fruit. The second little javelina said, "Please, may I have some sticks to build a house?" "Hao," she said, which means yes in the language of the desert people. So here she is with her sticks from the saguaro cactus. And here's the second javelina, and he wants to make a house because it's so hot in the desert. Who wants to be outside all the time in the desert? When he was finished building his house, he lay down in the shade. Then his brother arrived, panting from the heat, and the second little javelina moved over and made a place for him. So here they are in their stick house, and the first javelina has joined him because his tumbleweed house is no longer available. And they have a sign, "Do not disturb," because they are taking a nap. Pretty soon, Coyote found the saguaro rib house. He used his magic to make his voice sound like another javelina's. "Little pig, let me come in," he called, but the little javelinas were suspicious. The second one cried, "No, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin." "Bah," thought the coyote, "I'm not going to eat your hair." Then Coyote smiled, showing all his sharp teeth. "I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." So he huffed and he puffed, and all the saguaro ribs came tumbling down. But the two little javelinas escaped into the desert. Still not discouraged, Coyote followed. Sometimes his magic did fail, but then he usually came up with another trick. So their house is gone, but they have run away from that sneaky coyote. There he is, hiding behind the cactus. I wonder where they're going to run to. Do you know where? I think you're right. The third little javelina trotted through beautiful Palo Verde trees with green trunks and yellow flowers. She saw a snake sliding by, smooth as oil. A hawk floated round and round above her. Then she came to a place where a man was making adobe bricks from mud and straw. The bricks lay on the ground, baking in the hot sun. The third little javelina thought for a moment and said, "May I please have a few adobes to build a house?" "Sí," answered the man, which means yes in Spanish, the bricklayer's language. And here's the pretty little sister javelina, and she has come across the adobe brick maker, and he is gonna let her use some of his bricks to build a house under this beautiful tree. So the third javelina built herself a solid little adobe house, cool in the summer, warm in the winter. When her brothers found her, she welcomed them in and locked the door behind them. Coyote followed their trail. I don't see him. Maybe you can see him. I don't know. So here's her little house. And guess who has shown up? The two brothers. And they're going to live in that adobe house with their sister. They don't have a house anymore. "Little pig, let me come in," he called. The three javelinas looked out the window. This time Coyote pretended to be very old and weak with no teeth and a sore paw. But they were not fooled. "No, not by the hair of our chinny chin chin," called the third little javelina. "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in," said Coyote. He grinned, thinking of the wild pig dinner to come. "Just try it," said the third little javelina. So Coyote huffed and puffed, but the adobe bricks did not budge. Again Coyote tried. "I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." The three little javelinas covered their hairy ears, but nothing happened. And then they peeked out the window. So here's Coyote, making himself look old and weak with no teeth. So maybe they would let him in, but they didn't. And here they're covering their hairy ears because that coyote is shouting so loudly. The tip of Coyote's raggedy tail whisked right past their noses when they looked through the window. He was climbing up on the tin roof. Next, Coyote used his magic to make himself really, really skinny. The stovepipe, gasped the third little Javelina. Quickly, she lit a fire inside her wood stove. Oh, what a feast this will be, Coyote said to himself. He squeezed into that stovepipe. I think I'll eat them with some red-hot chili sauce. Whoosh! Sizzle! Here's Coyote, making himself skinny so he can go down the stovepipe. But the third Javelina has lit a fire in the stove. That probably doesn't feel very good. Then the three little Javelinas heard an amazing noise. It was not a bark. It was not a cackle. It was not a howl. It was not a scream. It was all those sounds together. Yip, yep, yeep, yo! Away ran a puff of smoke shaped like a coyote. And so here they are looking out their window, and all they can see is this puff of smoke shaped like a coyote running off into the desert. Oh my. The three little Javelinas lived happily ever after in that adobe house. And if you ever hear Coyote's voice way out in the desert at night, well, you know what he's remembering. There he is, howling, remembering what happened to him when he tried to sneak into the Javelina's house. Ooh, that's a good one. And there's some stuff in the back about coyotes and Native Americans. What a good book this was. The Three Little Javelinas. I hope you liked it. Love you and miss you. Mwah.
Goodbye. We love you. Take care.